Amazing. So before we kick off and go really deep, I just want to start with a couple questions here.
Yeah, man.
Now, look, everyone here knows who you are, clearly, right? Seen you on TV, seen you in magazines. If they're lucky enough, they'd had the opportunity to eat in one of your restaurants. Can you just tell us a little bit about where did your love of food come from? Like, where did it all begin?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it would probably be from my family, from my grandmother. You know, by the time about my son's age, 3.5, I got adopted. Me and my sister got adopted from Africa, from Ethiopia, from a tiny hut to Sweden, to the west coast of Sweden. So we went from the warmest country in the world to the coldest country in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
But my grandmother, she cooked everything. And when I say everything, everything. There was like bread, chicken stock, chicken liver, you name it, right?
Yeah.
She was really like a black auntie from the South. She was cooking everything, although she was an older white lady in Sweden. But, you know, she had that vibe. She came from poor times when Sweden was poor. So when we were growing up, she kept that, installed that in us, that you have to learn how to cook. And I really enjoyed it. So
yeah. So ask me, when one of the reasons why you and I are having this conversation today is because of clearly the situation we're in today, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've learned from this pandemic is that people of color, we are at higher risk of dying due to pre-existing conditions. Now, we're more likely to have things like obesity, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, and a lot of this comes from our lack of exercise, but more importantly, our eating habits, right?
Well, I think it's more layered than that. You know, if you listen to an excellent podcast, 1619, you know, it's really layered from when we got here, really, right? And but also not having access to healthcare for generations, right? And then one of the things that happened during integration and segregation was we used to cook, we used to have local restaurants in our communities. And then that, you know, fast food restaurants really beat those mom and pops up, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of junk food, a lot of trans fat was pushed into our community. The other thing that happened around the same time was, if you look at a picture in Harlem or Overtown or in New Orleans circa 1955, there are farmers markets, there are fish markets. Yeah. But as those fast food restaurants started coming in, it became cheaper choices, no access to real vegetables, and we started to lose our art of cooking, and we started to lose really a sense of what is our food, and really Chinese takeout food became our soul food. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with those Chinese takeout food. It's just not every day. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point, actually, because I'll tee something up right from where you came there. Is access to healthy foods has always been a big issue in the Black communities, especially in low-income areas. So how do you eat healthy when the only thing in arm's reach is a McDonald's, a Chinese food, like you said, Domino's, KFC?
Well, if you speak to your grandmother or grandfather, they know that there's always a butcher shop still. Yeah. We got to look at the other cuts, right? Chicken wing, beef neck, etc., oxtail, all of those different things. And it's those offcuts that really is the basement of our food. And I think for me, if everyone learns how to cook the way everyone learns to have a language, right? Everything falls from that. You eat better with a spiritual compass. You eat healthier. You know what to do with leftovers. So everyone doesn't have to be a master chef, but if you know how to cook, you know also, like, leftovers of anything, it's not a problem, because then you know how to take care of it. Look what I got in my pan here. Okay. I got a little bit of just quinoa. Okay. I got a little bit of some broccoli and Brussels pieces. Okay. And all I'm doing is putting olive oil, 2 tablespoons of quinoa, and that could have been bulgur, that could have been rice, my leftover rice. And all I'm looking in the fridge, I'm just taking out some Brussels and some leftover broccoli, searing them on medium heat, and I'm going to undercook them. That's probably where I differ from my grandmother. She overcooked the vegetables, but these going to be crunchy, right? Because if we want this to be delicious, we want it to be crunchy. So we're going to make it super delicious meal that is both delicious and relevant and also healthy. Right. So I got a couple of simple things. I got flax seeds. Okay. Right? Just because I want to add that little, we eat with our eyes, but we also eat through texture. Yes. Flax seeds, olive oil. This is going to kind of be our vinaigrette. So when you bite into this, It's going to have crunch to it. That could be sesame seeds. That could be peanuts.
Yep.
It could be coconuts. It's a crunch we're looking for. So I've got the flax seeds and olive oil. And then you talk about protein. I got a 3-ounce piece of salmon, not an 8-ounce piece, just a little bit of beautiful, good fat that, you know, that we need, omega-3 fat and healthy. And I marinated in a little bit of soy and olive oil.
Okay.
Right? So again, we don't have to have huge portions.
Yep.
The larger portions here is actually going to come from a broccoli or quinoa. In this bowl, I got cucumber and some bad tomatoes. It's not even tomato season. That's why I want to use this. And my son, he loves watermelon. So I'm adding cucumber, watermelon, and tomato. This is a really nice, almost spring summer salad, right? I'm just going to toss that.
And I look, your point you said about, too, having a smaller piece of fish and then the focus on the side. I think so many people mix that, right? They put the larger portion on the meat instead.
Exactly. And think about this day and age where we're in, right? Especially lunch meal. You want that crunchy salad where the protein becomes really the side dish versus, you know, here's the focus on vegetable. The protein is really the side dish, right? So everyone can find tomatoes, watermelon, cucumber, right? And pre-tech, like cucumber, for example, like this, salt them, put them in a little salt 15 minutes before you start cooking, and all the water is going to fall out, and they're going to be super crunchy, right?
Gotcha.
So I got my cucumber here. I got my quinoa and Brussels sprouts, right? But if you want some flavor on this, right, I got right here, turmeric, smoked paprika, cumin. Just going to drop all of that into right here. Cumin.
And as you're doing this, quick question. What are we, I mean, I see, what we have, there, a lot of people of color, we have a tendency of going straight to frying, heavy on salt. Like, what are some different ways we can actually, replacements or alternatives to some of that?
I'm using very little salt. There's many other things you can do. When you use seafood, there's natural salt in the seafood.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Substitute for salt could be just a little bit of soy, for example. Right? Even oyster sauce would be a supplement for salt. But I'm looking at the other spice. I'm looking at the turmeric because that's good for me, right? I'm trying to get you into superfoods here. Flax seeds, super healthy, right? Turmeric, smoked paprika. So the food can come to you in many different ways, right? But as long as it's delicious. When you make a salad like this, what the problem is when people work with quinoa, it's not rice. It doesn't chew as easy as rice, right? So sometimes when you make a fried rice dish, you want a lot of rice. Quinoa, you just want a tablespoon or two. You just want it to coat the vegetables, right? And that's the difference. So I have probably 80% vegetable here, and then a little bit of quinoa. And then the combination between wet and dry. Those are my dry vegetables, broccoli, the Brussels. These are my wet, the tomatoes and the watermelon, right? Those are my wet. So I don't want this to be soggy. So I don't mix these two until right before I'm ready to serve. And I'm just going to put them here, and then we're going to get ready to cook the salmon. Again, soy, olive oil, just going to drop the salmon in, medium heat.
And I gotta tell you, there's a lot of people asking how come I'm not joining in. You guys do not want to see Marcus. I am the worst cook.
What do you mean? What do you mean, man?
Look, man, I might have problems with egos sometimes. My daughter won't eat them.
So things like this, right? You got to think about it. Like you go to the gym, or we do things with our families. You don't want to be heavy when you're running after your kids or something like that. So a meal like this, a lunch like this, that it's sufficient and gives you power, but doesn't make you feel heavy, right? It's a different thing. I'm full, but I don't feel heavy, right? So we're working with a 3-ounce piece of fish, flax seed, some leftover quinoa that could have been rice. It could have been bulgur, another great grain, just soaked, right? And some broccoli and Brussels, right? So it's very, very simple. So now it's time to actually just I'm going to add in the flax seeds into the tomatoes.
Can we look down a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Can you just put it down? Can you put it down?
Marcus, I'm about to ask too. Are you doing, I know you're doing pickups at the restaurant. Afterwards, you might want to tell me where you're at. Maybe I can come pick this up afterwards.
Yeah. What we're doing now, we really want to, Red Rooster has changed completely since you were there with your wife. We're right now a community kitchen. We're serving the needy. We've so far served between Red Rooster Overtown, Red Rooster Harlem, and Newark. We've been serving our community 42,000 meals over the last 6 weeks.
That's
so
incredible.
big shout out to my staff and the people that I work with. But in a pandemic like this, knowing that it's going to hit our community harder, it was really important to do something that would make, have a real impact in our community. And, doing it together with Melba and JJ and all the other great restaurants that are in Harlem. So I got my salmon. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of lemon on top. You know what I do with this lemon? I don't just throw it out. I leave it in the pan. Just keep adding a little bit of acid. Yep, just leave it in the pan.
Okay.
And here I got my salad. You see the salad here. You got the salad. So added in avocado, cucumber, right?
Okay.
And a salad like this, right? Now I'm going to add in the bulgur, the Brussels. 5 minutes, all it takes, toast it up.
Got it.
So
a lot of different textures going on there.
It is, and that's the key, right? If you have great textures, right? We eat, aesthetically it's got to be pleasing, but the textures are key. So the watermelon gives you sugar, right? The avocado gives you fat. The lemon juice we squeezed in will give you acid, right? And then that spices, the turmeric and the smoked paprika, a little bit of heat. So we got everything that we need here, right? And then we're just waiting for that salmon steak to finish. And I'm just going to start plating this.
Right? I got to tell you, it looks fantastic too, because I got to tell you that there's so many people often say that healthy foods don't taste good.
Oh, no, it has to. It's not an either or. No doubt.
Yeah.
It has to look good at the same time, right? So how are you doing during this very challenging time? What are you guys talking about at the dinner table?
You know what? It's an interesting time. I think that we've all become acclimated now, right? Now that it's been so long. But the bigger thing is and I'm curious to even ask of you as well. Like I am rushing in and out of the stores, and sometimes I'm trying to rush so quickly, I'm forced to buy foods that last longer in the kitchen. You're going straight to the canned stuff. Sometimes it's hard to get the frozen or organic stuff because it's not in. So how could our viewers here and people at home make healthier choices when we're trying to make food last longer?
Well, I think it's really, if you cook a lot, and this is a great time when something happens like this, coming out as a better cook can actually be a turning point in your life, right?
Yeah.
Using this negative situation to become better and a lifestyle choice, you know? So it's looking at it like, I literally think cooking is as important as having a language, right?
Yeah.
Speaking a language and connecting it to spirituality. You know what I mean? Like there is going to be a day of the week where you eat bigger. Maybe that's Sunday roast. It's going to be a day of the week when you eat a little bit smaller. It doesn't have to be full on fasting, but smaller, right? So one of the things that my wife and I did during the pandemic was we cut out most animal protein. Because getting into the store took an hour, and then going into the meat or fish side of the store was another hour. So I'm like, no, we don't have time for that. We were also in a rush. Right. So we've been eating 90% vegetarian during this meal. That doesn't mean without compromising on flavors, right?
Right.
So it's easy to say when you're a chef that you can do that, but I do think there's been a moment here where taking this pandemic, figuring out how to do the best out of a situation like this can be very, very powerful.
Right.
Using leftovers. So what do I mean? Like, for example, you have this bowl now with leftovers. What do I do with this? Well, guess what? Grill some tortillas, and now you have vegetarian taco for breakfast, for example, right? So you want to scramble some egg? Go ahead. You can add that, right? There's not one part of food that you actually have to waste, If you live with if you have a little area where you grow stuff, all of this you can create a compost out of, right?
Yeah.
So we don't need more animal protein. We need to be cautious about probably eating a little bit less of that. Getting a mixed diet, a varied diet that is delicious. Healthy is delicious. Has nothing to do with healthy. Does not mean that I'm not eating well. Look at that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So let me ask, like I told you, I am a horrible chef, but to your point, I am now starting to cook a hell of a lot more. Fortunately for my family, my wife is an amazing chef. But what are the 3 recommendations you would give to someone like myself who's experimenting with new ways to cook and eat healthier?
Well, I think first of all, you want, as a professional, as somebody that has achieved a lot, I know that you're stubborn. So you want to be good at it, right? Like you're taking, of course. So take this as a challenge. Like, you know what? I'm going to give myself 6 weeks, and we as a family are going to eat better. I'm not going to put it all on my wife. Challenge accepted, right?
Yep.
And then whether you go online or whether you go on cookbooks, you figure out, or maybe whether you follow people on Instagram, Marcus Cooks, shout out to Marcus Cooks, right?
Of course.
And then take that challenge and then start thinking about it, right? How do I want to feel during, even when you shop for the food and when you eat it, right?
Yeah.
So that means that here, I wanted a lunch for my wife that was vegetarian forward with a little piece of meat, right? Yeah. So, we searing off the salmon, took 5 minutes to cook, but we worked on the vegetables. And this was all literal stuff that I took from the refrigerator, right?
Right, yeah.
So when you start looking at how the vegetables are, you don't have to throw away anything. These broccoli stems, chop them up, saute them, put them into a pasta, delicious, right? Because there's no leftover. And you go back to our ancestors.
Yeah.
There was very little low cuts of meat, but we made incredible food. Basically, the most only original American food that we have. We have Native American cooking, and then we have African American cooking. That is true American cuisine. Okay. All started with lesser cuts, started with mostly vegetables, and that's still the foundation how we eat today.
That's interesting. So when we talk about these foundations and how we eat today, I almost feel like eating habits are passed down generationally, right? So like there are things like my family, I have family from my mother's from Jamaica, right? So I traditionally oxtail, curry chicken, things of that nature.
But wait. What part of Jamaica? What part of Jamaica?
Kingston. Most of my family's from Kingston, and then we have some in Negril as well. Nice.
But Negril is amazing. Me and my wife would go to Negril every year, and sitting on the beach, just looking out, eating some jerk. Then you're on vacation.
Well, I will have to check you out because we do the same. We are actually married there as well.
Oh, nice. Spot.
So we'll have to align calendars.
Yeah, we eat in the Rock House. By the rock there is amazing, and we just love it. It's chilled up there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is, man. So now that like this is how I eat like the way I'm kind of used to eating from a child. But in some cases, I'm not going to say it's the best choices, and I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably worse than I am. So how do we break that mold, right? And try to say, okay, now I need to shift and turn things around.
I mean, I do think you change your eating habits by your spouse very often, or how you travel, or something happened in your life, right? So I would look at the week and say, 2 days a week, I'm going to eat vegetarian. Yep. And you have amazing vegetarian food, I tell, right? You have, but just like for anybody, let's just pick Tuesdays and Thursdays, just a little bit less, right? Cutting out some of that. You don't have to eat a burger for lunch and a steak for dinner. Like, that's just not how our body was built. Because think about it, twice a week I would eat lesser dinner as well, because once after dinner you go to bed, so you don't have any time to work off that, right? So it could be like Monday I'm gonna do a big lunch. Well, guess what? You got all day to work that off, right? So we all know the feeling when you eat a big dinner, maybe have a glass of wine or two, and then you go to bed and you feel stuffed and wonder why you feel stuffed. So you got to, when you eat it, it's key, right? How you eat it. And that's why you got to kind of like cut back on the protein sometimes, because you want to celebrate on the weekend. But that dinner that you might do with your family, do it at 5 o'clock instead, because then you give yourself more time to work it off, right? Especially if you're going to go on the grill and put a good big steak on, you want to give time to work that off.
Yeah. Interesting. So that's another question too. And anyone, because we got a little more time left for the folks, anyone watching, down at the bottom next to the comments box, there's a little box with a question mark. Go ahead and tap on that. You can ask questions, and I'll be able to ask a couple of questions of Marcus as well. So please chime in. But now
my wife, the camera person, she wants to have this lunch, so they better come in with a question all the way.
So you guys have to bring it in quick. So I asked another quick question too as well. Is I'm starting to see a big movement in the Black community with like vegetarians and vegans.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm seeing like vegan Jamaican restaurants popping up in Queens now, and I'm like,
yeah.
wow, I never could have imagined. What is your take on people who think that, hey, eating healthy means I need to go the vegan route, or you have others that are saying, I want to get in shape, I'm going to go the paleo route and heavy on the meats and no carbs?
Well, I think, first of all, you want to enjoy eating, right?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. If you don't enjoy it, if you don't enjoy eating, so you don't starve yourself in either direction. But I do think a balanced meal is key. Yep. So again, if you've been a heavy meat eater, to go straight to vegan is probably not a good choice for you. But I'm not vegetarian. My wife is not vegetarian, but twice a week we eat vegetarian. Maybe 3 days a week we eat vegetarian, and that's a good way to kind of just cut stuff out, right?
Yeah.
Second part of the week, we might eat a vegetarian forward meal with a little bit of protein into it, right? So let's say we eat a pasta with a little bit of let's say meat sauce, but probably more vegetables in there as well, right? So you want to make sure you enjoy it, and then it's not just about that. Do you steam the food? Do you grill the food? Do you fry the food? Like there's many different ways to apply it. So it's not a simple, am I a paleo guy or am I a vegan guy? But enjoy it, and once you enjoy it, you're gonna figure out, okay, as a family, write out 14 days.
Yeah.
Well, how do we eat as a family in 14 days? And you can't do a big breakfast, big lunch, and big dinner. You can't be that guy. You have to kind of like pick your spots a little bit. And traditionally, a big breakfast and a bigger lunch is probably healthier for most people because it gives them longer time to work it off.
That's an interesting point. So we're going to ask just two questions coming in real quick. One, what are your staple veggies and spices?
Oh, you need some good salt and pepper. I have smoked paprika always around. I love cumin. I love a little turmeric. And turmeric, for example, we use a lot of that in our tea as well, like turmeric, ginger, maybe even lemongrass. It just keeps you fit, right? So I do think we always have cumin around. We always have smoked paprika. We always have turmeric around, right? Those are the 3 that we always go in and out of. And then you can build spice blends from that. A little bit of olive oil in those spices, right? Some vinegar, and you have a great wet curry.
Right. So one last question here, and I shouldn't be asking this because we're talking about healthy foods, but I'm just going to ask because it's my favorite dish at your restaurant. What is the secret to the double fried chicken?
Oh, no,
double fried chicken.
Yeah, guess what? In a couple of months, when the restaurant is back up, we do this segment from the restaurant. Yes. And then we can go through it step by step. But I'll tell you a funny story. Before we opened the restaurant, I was so paranoid about the fried chicken, opening a restaurant in Harlem with fried chicken. The first person to fry chicken in the restaurant was actually John Legend. John Legend fried the first fried chicken in the restaurant because he's like, Marcus, you're talking about this damn bird so much. I come up and show you. So he came up and fried the chicken, and he blessed the place,
That's wild.
And I got to give a big shout out to my wife because she's the one, since this has now changed, we used to do all these segments at the restaurant. She's now the camera person a day after Mother's Day. And the other good thing that happened was that, yes, our son didn't come in, and is Zion coming now? Yeah, I hear him coming. So that's him. He's coming. Normally, when he sees the cameras up and like there's stuff happening, he always comes running. So to do a whole half an hour without him coming, well, I think we got him here.
Do you have him in here?
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming. Right. Zaza, come and say hi. Oh yeah. No, he was not interested in saying hi.
All right. He's like, not today. He's like, I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm busy.
So look, man. I just want to say, if there's any last things you might want to say, again, like the purpose and intent of this conversation, which I truly appreciate, is that we need to find better ways to, as people of color, do better with being healthy. And the biggest problem is everything we see in the news, everything we're reading online is just the facts, the stats. No one is stopping to say, look, this is what we need to do to save lives, other than gloves and masks, right? Eat healthy, exercise, here are your options. Is there anything you want to leave folks with?
Well, I mean, if you are a good cook, share it. You don't have to be a chef, but you just enjoy cooking. Share your knowledge, especially if there's somebody in your building that is elderly and can't get to the store. Maybe you want to cook and drop it, outside her or his door, right? Like this is the time where we have to take care of ourselves and we have to help one another. So if you have skills like that, share them because we all need to eat better. we all need to take care of our environment better, and we need to teach our kids that, right? So I'm really happy that you reached out through Lauren, and you connecting us all. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's have that bird at Red Rooster in a couple of months, all right?
I am all for it, and I'm going to hit you up and let you know when I'm coming out.
Oh, yeah. Booyaka. Gunshot.
Amazing.
Yes.
Rewind.
Rewind. There you go. There you go.
Amazing. Marcus, thank you, my man.
Thanks a lot.
Take it easy, brother.